Hi, my name's Dave Burrows, and welcome to episode 5 of the Ski Instructor Podcast. This week I interview Derek Tate, who's the chairman of the Irish Association of Snowsports Instructors. I went to see him at his beautiful home in Saint-Gervais-Les-Bains, which is in the Chamonix Valley. And Derek has just come back from Interski, so it was a really good time to grab him and get his sort of fairly immediate impressions of how Interski was and how it went. We talked at length about that in the first half here, and also the what IASI presented at Interski and some of the other things that came out of that. So enjoy the first half here, and I'll catch you at the midpoint break. Derek Tate, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Right, for those of you that don't know, and I'm probably going to get this completely wrong, Derek Tate, chairman, president, not sure what the word is.
Chairman of IASI.
Chairman of IASI. For those of you that don't know what IASI is, that's the Irish Association of
Sports
Instructors.
Yeah.
I keep getting that wrong because I keep using the word ski instead of snowsports all the time. But you also run your own ski school, right? So you're based here?
Yes, based here in Chamonix Valley, although live in Saint-Gervais.
Okay.
But run British Alpine Ski School in Chamonix and also over here in Saint-Gervais-Les-Bains.
So that must mean that you get to ski in quite a lot of different and interesting places, I guess. If you must have clients that want to ski in all of the different stations in this valley.
Yeah, the Mont Blanc Unlimited ticket's a very good ticket. We can ski anywhere in the IASI on Mont Blanc or in Chamonix Valley. So we've lots of our guests who've skied with us over the years in Chamonix who now come over to the IASI and ski in Lake Contamine or
because that covers it. Doesn't that cover a huge area? So I came over the pass from Martigny, so it starts down there at that end at Lavencher, at the end of Chamonix.
Yeah, and so you got La Tour and your Grand Montet up at that end of the valley.
Yeah.
And then Flégère, Brevon on the sunny side of the Chamonix Valley.
Uh-huh.
You got the Aiguille de Midi sort of taking up to the Vallée Blanche, and then Les Ouches at the other end.
Okay. But that pass, so then it carries on and it keeps going all the way down to, well, I guess to where we are, right?
Well, yes, you come around, so this side of the Mont Blanc range, and then you've got Les Ouches behind us, and then you've got Saint-Gervais-Les-Bains the other side. And that's all on the one
pass?
All on the one ticket, on the Mont Blanc Unlimited ticket.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's a very good...
That's really good value, isn't it?
Yeah.
How much does that cost? I mean, if you had a season pass, roughly how much is that for...
Well, it depends
for a client.
I mean, some of our people who live here, locals, expats who'd be living here would be getting sort of a residence ticket for probably about €800.
Oh wow!
For the whole season, and that would cover
that's a lot of skiing,
area.
Right?
So yeah,
you can choose a different place every week, and you'd be you'd never run out.
Yeah,
that's cool. No, I really like the skiing over here. I was over here the other day with, like I said to you, with Glenn in Megève, and I was just amazed how quiet it was and how well maintained and well groomed the pieces.
You don't want to tell too many people. It's nice and quiet.
No, exactly. Now, we met a long time ago. I think we've been in touch ever since, but we met a long time ago, and you were my examiner on the level 3 teaching exam for IASI.
Yeah.
It was a very, very pleasant week with a very nice bunch of skiers, and we were doing that in Morzine, I think it was.
Yeah, it was Morzine, yeah. No, I remember the course. It was, as you say, it was a really fun week. It was a fun group of people.
It was a fun group.
I think people generally enjoyed the course.
It's true, and a lot of people who are on that course are all now, they've all gone through the system, and they're all sort of teaching over in that area. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Are you still doing anything with BASI, or are you 100% kind of invested in the Irish system?
At this stage, yeah, I'm sort of 100% invested in IASI, but I'm still a member of BASI, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be eligible for my life membership in a few years. So.
Get a badge through the post.
So so still very much a member.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not not involved as a trainer or as a board member as was.
I suppose you don't have the time, right?
No, exactly. It's a case of focusing time on one area rather than trying to do everything.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Well, in that case, then let's. So you have just the reason that I thought I wanted to get. I tried to get the timing right, and obviously we've both kind of got stuff going on, but I wanted to particularly catch you when you just come back from Interski.
Yeah.
Because I think this year's Interski was particularly well publicised compared to previous ones. There's a whole lot more noise on social media about it than there ever has been.
So social media has really taken off, and I think all the participating nations have got the idea that social media was the way forward. Was the way forward, yeah.
Yeah, no, I see that. I see that from the, I follow the Swiss quite closely and obviously the British stuff and also from an Irish perspective too. So you've been back from there for a couple of weeks now, must be?
Yeah.
And that must have taken, it took at least a week out of your ski season though, right? Or your actual work season?
Well, quite a bit more than that actually. We had a training camp for the team last November in Kaprun. Then we had another training camp in Pila at the beginning of February, before the madness of February. And then the team went out a few days early before the Congress as well. So the commitment actually from the team was massive because there was loss of earnings.
Of course, you lose a week. Yeah.
Every member of the demo team's working full-time professionally as ski instructors in various parts of the Alps. So they're losing earnings. They're committing obviously to spending money because everybody in the Irish team was fully self-funded.
Well, this is what I really liked about your setup when you went, because that's my understanding of it, right? Everyone who is in the Irish, representing the Irish Association at Interski, paid their own way to be there. Yeah,
everybody. It didn't matter.
And for the training and all of that.
It didn't matter who they were, whether just a team member or people like myself, who's chairman. Everybody funded themselves. There's a big commitment from everybody.
That is a big commitment, and that I think that's a quite important point, because I know that I've spoken to some other people who are quite, I wouldn't say resentful, but when you talk about the some of the other national systems, it's funded by the association and essentially the people that go are
I think it varies across different nations. Some nations fund their team to go, other nations part fund their team, and then in some there are other nations like ourselves who fund themselves. We're simply not big enough to put that kind of money into attending.
It would be a big undertaking otherwise, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's cool. All right, and so you're fairly fresh back from it. Maybe for those of you that don't really know too much about Interski or what it's all about, maybe you can sort of run through for me kind of how the week itself rolled out and what was involved.
Well, I mean, Interski itself has always been a platform for nations to send their top ski, snowboard, telemark instructors to exchange ideas, to share, to keep up to date with what's current, the latest thinking on teaching methodology. And I think this Interski, probably more than any other one I've attended, was what really had that atmosphere of sharing.
Okay.
Which was really nice, because I think in the past it's sometimes been seen as a shop window. You're sort of trying to compete with other nations, almost see who's the best.
Yeah.
And I think this time, the atmosphere was really, really nice for the whole week. I guess it was different for us as well this time, because having been at the last two congresses in 2011 in St. Anton and then Ushuaia in Argentina, we were sort of on a road of growing as an association and growing in terms of our attendance. So we were starting to get more well known and more accepted that we actually were, a real snow sports nation and not just, obviously when we went there in 2011, people would sort of look at Ireland and think, well, who are Ireland? Can't possibly be teaching snow sports. So, it was nice to see that change, that acceptance from other nations.
Well, I imagine. So I've seen a lot of stuff also that came out of the Dutch, the Danes. Other real flatland, lowland countries.
Yeah, and the Danes were were particularly impressive. They had a big team there, and their skiing level was excellent. I mean, I was really quite impressed with the Danes. For certainly the flatland countries, I would say they were very, very much one of the best nations there.
Okay.
Their demos were very, very good. Their teaching stuff, they just had a really good package there. Their social media presence was excellent. They put together some great video edits.
Yeah.
So they were certainly impressed.
Yeah. I imagine you probably heard a little bit about their latest ski slope they put on top of that power station in.
I think
I've seen
pictures
super
of
proud
those
of
things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So the Interski format, it follows what you have a sort of opening ceremony, which I think maybe everyone who's following it saw probably the footage of that, and then it follows. You have 4 days or 5 days of kind of technical workshops and demonstrations in the evening?
5 days. Yeah. So the Sunday was the opening ceremony, which obviously was also St. Patrick's Day, which was quite nice. And I hadn't realised, but Burrows is quite a destination for Irish snowsports holidaymakers. There's quite a lot of some tour operators. I think it's Balkan Holidays organised trips there. So there was a big Irish community there. Plus we had quite a lot of our core members who come out to support the team.
That's right, because you made sorry, I'm not looking to hijack what you're telling me about the format of the week, but you also, in addition to having your team go, you made a sort of, for those interested in coming, package.
We tried to follow the example of the Americans who've always opened up Interski to its whole membership. Huh? So they would encourage their just normal PSA members to come along to the event. So they had about 80 people there in total.
So the core team
and then lots of their members, and they actually put an edit on recently of just some of their members who'd been attending and getting their views of the Congress, which is really good. So that was really what we wanted to try and do, is to open it up to the core membership and sort of get them involved.
And how many sort of guests
we had 20 in our sort of official team delegation.
Yeah.
And then I think we had 32 in total.
Okay.
We had a nice group of members came out, and they were brilliant at sort of supporting, cheering, flags waving all the time. I think we saw more Irish flags in the crowd than any other flags for the whole week. And obviously St. Patrick's Day was a good way to kick that off. With the opening ceremony. Yeah, and then as you say, there's 5 days of the Congress itself, where there's workshops on snow, you have lectures off snow, and then you have the technical demos in the morning, and then there was 2 evening shows as well.
Oh, right.
So the kind of evening shows were the kind of time to really show off some good, more complex synchro routines, whereas the morning technical demos was just to really try and show what different nations did or how they skied.
Were you what I interviewed, I think in episode 2 or 3, Jazz Lamb, and he was saying that he was expecting more of a convergence back in terms of national styles. We'll get to the topic of national styles later, but he was saying to me that he was expecting more nations to more ski the same within those, or ski in a similar way within those technical demonstrations than maybe in previous years.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. There's still some differences if you look at the sort of Japanese, and their style is still quite different. I think the Australians had moved more closer to other nations, and that they were less obviously Japanese in their approach.
Oh, that's interesting.
But yes, across the top nations, and then obviously some nations just stand out because they have such high level performers. They're either ex-racers but they're also, I think the team that stood out for me this time was the Swiss, who were just, seemed on a different level in some ways.
They're off the chain. So on some of the courses that I've done with the Swiss, you get assigned a Swiss. You probably been in this environment already. But you get assigned with your educator. You get assigned a member of the Swiss demo team, and like, oh my god, those guys are just. There's nothing they can't do. But they're all. Majority, I think, are probably ex racers. Certainly, the one that I had was a guy called Damien Franson, who used to race World Cup, and it's just a different level. Amazing what those guys can do.
And I think it's also the Swiss culture seems to be to do quite a lot of demonstration stuff within their ski schools. Yeah. They have Interski school championships.
Yes, that's right.
So their kind of national demo team are almost a pro demo team.
Yes, yeah.
So consequently, they were extremely good.
Yeah.
I videoed them on their technical demos on the morning, just 6 of them doing short turns. I put that onto Facebook, and it's the most viewed video that I've ever put on Facebook.
Oh, really? Okay.
It was up to nearly 200,000 views.
Really?
Yeah, and it's been shared 1,000 times.
It's amazing.
And that was just one little clip of them doing some short turns. But
well, they're doing at the moment. They've got the Swiss Snow happening. In a place called School, which is going on at the moment, and you're right. It's all of the demo teams from all of the ski schools across the Swiss Alps, and they'll go there and do their thing and crown themselves a Swiss snow king and queen or something.
I think what's interesting with the Swiss as well is they'd also, not just on their technical side, they're making a real, I suppose, effort to really understand what's required on the teaching side in terms of modernising that.
Yeah,
their whole thing was about creating magic moments.
Yes.
So they're definitely moving more than some nations in terms of understanding, customer care, what's required to really deliver, and retain customers or get new customers.
For sure, that's definitely been sort of part of their direction in all the stuff that I've seen in the last 2 or 3 years, for sure. And I've always thought that from a teaching side, that from the Swiss side, they've always seemed to be a bit formulaic. They have that book, and you kind of got to do. Can you do these set of 3 or 4 things? And if so, you get that particular medal. This is their kids' model. And I think there's probably more to it than that. But what it does do is it produces very skillful and agile skiers, and I think that filters all the way through to the top of their ski instructor system. Pop out of their whatever it is, the book that they run all the kids through, the red prints, blueprints thing. You pop out of that, and then the next thing there's a sort of instructor level after that, and the pyramid just keeps going up and up and up. But it does, the stuff that they put in, you will have seen some of it, I think, because IASI take, I think, bits from here, there, and everywhere, and I've seen some of the stuff that's in your program looks a little bit like some of the Swiss turns that they asked them to do, but I've never seen any other nation that asked them to do all of these kind of short-term variations.
We've brought in some of that. We could sort of label that additional activities, which we brought into our assessment criteria. But yes, it creates quite skillful skiers if you can do all of these kind of tricks, if you like. Agility type.
Yeah, I think agility is the key word, isn't it? Because that seems to be what they're after. Are you, can you sort of dance on your skis? Essentially, is the way that they look when they ski, for sure. Okay, so you're doing and on each of those, going back to what we were talking about with regards to the format of Interski, you're not presenting, you're not doing a demo every day. Do you get a slot? How many demos do you get to do?
Well, some teams had some of their presentation, if you like, split across the week. Some teams had everything on the one day, which was us. There were other teams as well, but so the Wednesday the 20th of March, which will live long in the memory,
it's a long day,
was we were presenting everything.
All right.
So that meant we had our technical demos first thing in the morning. So that was just 4 of our team who did those. In fact, there were 6 on the first run and 4 on the second run, so 2 runs, technical demos. Then we had our on-snow workshops, so we had 2 time slots for that, morning and afternoon.
Oh, wow.
Then we had an off-snow lecture, and then we were involved in the evening show that night as well. So
long day.
It was a full day,
And you, if I remember rightly, you delivered the off-snow lecture.
Yeah, that's right. I think we counted 88 people in the room, which was
brilliant.
Which was really nice to have that many people coming along. So my off-snow lecture was based around research that I'm doing for my master's.
Okay.
So I've been looking at the sort of connection between mindfulness and flow. Flow being a mental state that we're trying to get into when we're performing.
I was just talking about flow yesterday. Oh, cool. Okay, go on. Yeah,
so the sort of real name for flow is optimal experience. So you're trying to get into this state. We're using a mindfulness training program to try and, if you like, increase the likelihood of that happening. And the participants for my study were the team, were the demo team. So the 10 members of the demo team had been engaged in that since November in Caprun, right through to the final training prior to Interski.
Yeah. And
then obviously we had the event itself, and I've just finished doing 5 interviews, which will form part of the sort of write-up of my dissertation.
And how, if you don't mind me asking, I don't want to spoil your dissertation and the research that you're doing, so how would, how am I going to explain this? So how are those guys getting into that kind of optimal state? Like, is there a way?
The training program was designed around using the lift riding time.
Right.
So we had 5, if you like, meditative activities and 5 communication activities that they could use on the ski lifts. So they were doing that in the training camps themselves and also away from the training camps, and even using the activities away from the snow sports environment as well. So the idea is that these activities would help develop the skill of focused attention. And focused attention is one of the common elements between mindfulness and flow.
Okay.
So the basis of the research is that if you can train the skill of focused attention, then you're more likely to experience flow when performing.
That's interesting.
So,
because I've found a couple of states like that this season. I'm not sure. Well, maybe we are or we aren't talking about the same thing. But I've been skiing around, and and every now and then I'll get to a place where I've got that sort of euphoric feeling. I'm thinking, I absolutely love this. Like, this is, I'd forgotten how much I loved it. And it does happen if you're teaching all the time. I think you kind of, you get into a bit of a routine or a bit of a rut or whatever. But every now and then I'm there, and I don't know where that feeling arrives from. Yeah, it's a strange. It's just I'd be really interested.
Well, I think that feeling could be when you're actually performing or skiing, but it could also be when you're teaching.
Yes.
It could be any aspect of it that you suddenly get into that moment, or everything, you're just totally engaged in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you sort of derive a feeling of great enjoyment from it.
Yeah.
So it's almost afterwards you suddenly think that was really special, or that was really...
It's true. I often feel that when I'm teaching, when I kind of somehow, and I'm not conscious of how it happens, but I'm pulling together all of these elements, it feels like a feeling of sort of like mastery almost of your subject, and you're completely in command of everything you're doing, and everything is just working, flowing from one thing to the other really well.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you're just on it that day. But I wouldn't know how to bring that feeling on command. I think that
I don't.
Difficult.
That's very difficult, and it's that's obviously what the research was about. But there'll be no way to sort of completely conclude that that's something you can create. But I think we can.
But you're saying that there's ways that you can make that
facilitate
arrive.
And make it more likely that it will happen. But I don't think there isn't a switch.
I wish there was.
It would be nice if there was, but
it'd be great, wouldn't it, to have that feeling?
But interestingly, other nations were talking about flow in its correct sort of sense of it being a mental state. The keynote lecture from the Americans at the start talked about flow. It came up again with the Swiss with their magic moments, because their whole magic moment was related to this kind of flow experience. So it seemed to be a topic that was actually there in the Congress. So it was quite nice then to be able to deliver an indoor lecture which was about the research that I was doing, which seemed to be something that a lot of nations were quite interested in.
And I've heard you talk about this in connection with the concept of mindfulness, being present, and that, I guess, forms part of it, right? If you're skiing down, I don't know, whatever your favourite piste but you're thinking about something else that isn't related necessarily to what you're doing.
Yeah, well, it's
there is I guess the flow state is there's an element of like clearing out your head, isn't there, and saying, right, I'm just here to ski.
Yeah, I think rather than clearing out your head, I think the phrase I like is bring order to consciousness.
Okay.
And sort of puts everything in the right place, as it were, as opposed to it being a monkey mind.
Yeah. You haven't been inside my mind. Okay. Cool. And so and so you're preparing that dissertation now, and then that will be.
Yeah, that's working on that over the summer, so it's due in by end of August.
Are you doing that with the distance?
It's the university. It's in Buxton University, the university is in High Wycombe.
Cool.
So yeah, it could have been distance, but the first 2 years of the course I attended weekends every month of the winter season.
Oh wow!
Flying back to the UK. So yeah, but this year it's just been the dissertation, so I haven't actually needed any contact time with the university as such.
And is this something that you're going to carry on? Are we going to see a Dr. Tate or something?
No, I don't think so. I think a master's is probably enough.
I had no idea you were such an academic.
I'm not.
Okay. But this is something that you're doing, just for your own pleasure? Yeah,
it's for my own pleasure, but it also complements what the work we do as ski instructors.
Yeah.
So it's the psychological side for our guests is huge, so... that's a really important part of it. So.
Yeah, that's true. The psychological side is huge, and if you find out a way to kind of find an on-off switch for confidence, that would be super.
Exactly. Yeah,
I've been with some lovely Irish guests all this week, and they were the one of the ladies in particular was 1 minute it was there skiing beautifully, next minute confidence gone. It was just, and then back to an enormous sort of snowplow, because that's the safety mechanism, and it's very, very hard. But again, she went through some of these moments where she was in a flow state, and a couple of things went right in a row, and the next thing she's skiing beautifully and confidently and much faster, and then it goes again, and it's I wonder if that was something to do with what you talked about, the order of consciousness. If you've got that much going on in your mind.
Yeah, and you're also trying to, as you mentioned, stay in the present as opposed to worrying about things that have happened in the past.
Yeah.
Or what the consequences of doing something are in the future. So it's trying to just stay on task. So.
Did you do anything with the guys when you were talking about them about how many technical things that they were thinking about during their skiing? I used to play golf a lot when I was really, really young, younger, and you could never, when you're trying to swing a golf club backwards and forwards, you could never really think about more than one particular thing. And I find skiing's a little bit like that.
We talked a lot about that, both off slope and on ski lifts, as we engaged in the activities that they were working through. So there was plenty of discussion about how that was happening.
Yeah.
What was quite interesting with the team was for all of them, it was their first time at an event like this.
Mm-hmm.
So none of them had ever been, performed in a demo team at, on a sort of world stage like this. So, so there was definitely pressure there.
Yeah, for sure.
Amongst the team, there was people who had competed, who'd raced. So there were some who had maybe a better handle on their mental skills, but it was still a different environment for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite interesting speaking to them, as you say, about what they were thinking about. And what you found was a lot of their focus while they were performing was external, not internal. So especially in a demo team, because you're focusing on, what the person in front is doing, or
of course,
just keeping the rhythm and knowing when to change rhythm, what the routine is. So there might be some counting or something going on, but there wasn't much in the way of technical focus.
No,
when they were actually performing.
There's no time for that.
No, exactly.
That's all got to be done in advance.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. And I suppose the pressure must be enormous, right? I'd never really even considered this, but you're however many of the world's best ski instructors are at the bottom of this slope watching.
Yeah, I mean, there was quite a crowd there. I think probably the opening ceremony was one of the hardest because, that was the start of the week. but also the build up to the opening ceremony. I think the team were actually at the top of the hill for nearly 2 hours before,
waiting,
because there was a lot of speeches and there was all sorts of stuff going on at the bottom. So it took ages, and it was a really hot sunny day. So all the teams were at the top, so that was quite a long build up to actually doing the run. So the pressure obviously was on. But as I said, certainly the feedback from everybody else as well was that the kind of banter, the camaraderie between the teams was very good.
Oh, that's nice to know.
So that probably helped to make it a much nicer atmosphere.
But you said in previous years it hasn't been so much like that.
I don't know if it probably was just perception in previous years that it was a little bit more of a competition. That you're very much there to try and prove yourself.
Nation skis the best. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. You're trying to make, I suppose, almost sell yourself and your nation and your system. But that didn't come across that way this time at all, which was really nice.
Because essentially it's just a big idea swap. Well, that was my understanding.
That's always been the idea of it.
Yeah.
But nations are always going to still want to see how they stack up against other nations and whether they're credible or and as I said, certain nations will always stand out as being particularly strong.
Well, yeah. But I suppose when it's your national sport, it's kind of it's going to be the case, right? I guess were there not some nations that weren't there? I didn't see any footage of French or Italians.
No, the French and Italians are currently not members of the International Ski Instructors Association. So it's all sort of political stuff, but to attend Interski you need to be members of one of the sort of international bodies.
Oh, I see.
So Interski International is kind of the umbrella organisation of ISIA, IBSI and IVSS.
Yeah.
So if you're not a member of those associations, then you can't attend Interski. Austria seems to be slightly different for some reason. They have a separate Interski Austria organisation. So they were there, even though they're not members of ISIA.
Okay.
The French did have a representation there, but they didn't have any of the sort of national team there, and likewise with the Italians.
It's a shame. It's a real shame, isn't it? Because I quite like how the French ski, and I would have liked to have seen their.
In fact, the French weren't in Ushuaia either in 2015. So the Italians were, but the French weren't. So they've now missed 2 Interskis. But again, the Austrians were very strong, very well drilled in their routines. They were another nation that stood out, but you kind of expect that of the Alpine nations.
Yeah, you would expect it.
Yeah, sure. You would hope they would.
I'd imagine they've got a fair few number of ex-World Cup guys kicking around who can probably ski a bit, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So you did one presentation, which was yours, the off-snow presentation, and your on-snow presentations, were they on the same topic, or were they a different?
Well, the on-snow presentations were more about our sort of whole philosophy and how we've developed the sort of content of our system. So we were looking, in practical terms, on the workshops, we were looking at how we would use drills to develop skill and then try and get rid of the drills to retain the skill. So that's
piqued my interest. You're going to have to tell me miles more about this, because I'm a kind of fairly anti-drill guy.
Yeah, well,
I'll use them. I threaten my clients with drills.
Well, the phrase we have in one of our chapters of our new manual is lose the drill, keep the skill. So
your new manual, by the way, is great.
Thank you.
I have to say, I've read it. I haven't read all of it. I'm ploughing my way through it. It's my summer reading.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of stuff in there. Really impressive.
So this idea of lose the drill it's not a case of we don't use drills. We use drills as they're required. Drills, some of our additional activities are effectively drills. So they develop certain movement patterns, certain skills. But what is essential is that whenever you use a drill, you know exactly why you're doing the drill, what movement patterns you're trying to develop, and then those skills are retained as you kind of work back to normal performance. So we're trying to show how we would use a progression to a drill and a progression from a drill, so that we could retain whatever the skill was you're trying to to develop in the learner.
Mm-hmm.
So that in a sense that was our practical element of the workshop, but behind that we were also trying to show how we were integrating our diamond model of skill acquisition, which incorporates this kind of mindful learning approach, and flow again as being something we want to try and help our guests achieve. So that it's the kind of whole package of how we put all that together. And I think interestingly some nations couldn't totally grasp what it was we were presenting. They could see the drills. It was really obvious the drill you're doing, but they couldn't see what was behind it so much. And that it was actually how we go about working with our guests to ensure that they're always again in the moment, that we're giving them the right stuff to keep them enjoying what they're doing, because obviously our outcome of it all is that they're going to have a great experience and want to come back for more. So it's this mindful learning approach rather than I suppose more traditional, just direct teaching styles where you just get people to keep, do what I say. There's more decision making on the part of the learner. You're actually responding to the learner's needs. So all of that is kind of wound around, if you like, this kind of lose the drill, keep the skill.
I see an awful lot of people, you probably see the same on the hill, who are substituting deep teaching for a bunch of drills, and I see it. I mean, maybe I don't see it over here so much, but just giving people drills and stuff to do without them understanding the basics or the fundamentals behind it, I think is a really is not a good way to be going about stuff. I always I do use drills often, but I always use them as, I think, what I try to do first is explain it really well and clearly and simply first, the thing I'm trying to do. And then if I need to add in a drill, then I'll do it. But often I won't need that drill if I've explained myself well enough at the start. Exactly. That's the kind of the approach that I tend to use, and it's I say that I think with some people there is a over reliance. You see people just putting clients through remorseless drills all the time, and like you say, there's more to it than that, because part of what they're doing when they're in a lesson with you is they don't necessarily, not all clients, and you'll know this from the guys that you get, maybe some of the expat clients or certainly some of the holiday clients, they're here on holiday too, right? They're here to enjoy themselves.
Exactly,
maybe their ambition might be just to be looking around, and not everyone wants to. I say this to my guys frequently. Not everyone wants to get better at skiing when they come for a lesson with you. Some people just want to see the area. Some people just want to have a chat with someone because they're lonely.
There's lots of different bits to the sport, for sure, and that's really important. But certainly going back to this, even just the drills, there isn't just one way to do a drill. There might be lots of variations of that drill, because you're trying to develop a range of movement patterns, so that and again, this is where the mindful learning comes into it, that people are actually aware and adaptable as they're learning, so they're able to make these subtle changes that they need to cope with the different terrain. And obviously Phil Smith talks a lot about the kind of open environment that we ski in when we're learning to ski, and snow sports is very much an open environment. There's so much is changing all the time, so you can't have just one set movement pattern. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work everywhere. So you have to develop a range of skills, and hence that is what our system is based around, and that's what the diamond model of skill acquisition facilitates, is because you have this mindful approach, this adaptability, variation in performance as you get to the higher levels, and then if you get all of that working, you're more likely to then also experience the mental state of flow. But it's coping with that environment that is so challenging all the time and so changeable all the time, and that's you need a system that actually supports that.
No, it's
and
true.
doesn't try and just give you one closed set of skills. That doesn't work everywhere.
Well, that's true, right? And like I say, this week I spent the majority of my week adapting to conditions as they've changed. You know, it's that time of year when you start on hard snow and ice, and then
slush.
2 hours later,
exactly.
you need a completely different set of skills in order to be able to ski.
And so that was very much the message we were trying to get across through the workshops. So it's what's behind the drill and losing the drill and keeping the skill. It was that wider aspect, and I think some nations understood that, some maybe not so much.
Yeah.
But I think what was fantastic for us this time was it was just the level of attendance we had at the workshops. It was huge. We ran 3 workshops on the first time slot. In the morning I delivered one, and then with another number of the other team members, Ali Smith, Chris Oldiker also delivered, Pete Gillespie. In fact, we had 4 workshops in the first slot, and then we had a further 3 in the afternoon. So, we reckon with the numbers of people that were attending, there would have been 15, 20 plus people in every workshop.
Oh, really?
So, we had a great attendance. And to be fair, all the workshops were well attended across all the nations. But, it was just nice to be fully involved in the Congress, at every level, from the demo hill to the workshops to the lectures, and to feel we had something to say this time as well.
That's really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really good. How does that feel? You've been around. It's fair to say you've been around the block a little bit.
Thanks.
I'm trying to say that nicely. But how does that, as an experience for you, how does that feel to stand in front of, essentially a lot of other high level trainers within other systems, and then present something that is yours? Is it a little bit intimidating? Maybe. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, of course there's certain nervousness as well of going to the Congress and doing that. But I think what was so nice for me was seeing the rest of the team all involved in delivering that. Because yes, it's been my dream to achieve that, but to have everybody else delivering was obviously brilliant. And they got a real buzz out of it. I mean, some of the demo team coming back after the workshops. I remember one person particularly saying they'd come all for the demos, but they actually enjoyed assisting on the workshop almost more than the demos on the hill. Yeah. So that was, it was really nice to feel that the whole different aspects of the Congress were just as important. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, cool. This is at the Interski. We'll stay on the topic of Interski here. So, from the other demos that you saw, or demos or presentations that you saw, and we'll come to national styles. It's a slightly different thing. From the presentations that you saw from other nations, were there anything? Did you see anything that really, really stood out for you? That was sort of, wow, that's super interesting.
So in terms of the workshops, or in terms of the stuff on the demo hill?
Not on the demo hill. We'll come to that.
In
terms of the workshops, what other nations were thinking?
I think to some extent, I'm actually the wrong person to ask, because I was so engrossed in making sure that everything happened for us.
You did.
As head of delegation, I did attend some other workshops, but in previous congresses I've probably attended more. But we had such a big team this time that we really allocated that job to everybody else to attend a lot of the other workshops. And we will have stuff coming out from team members.
So that's all going in a central dossier somewhere.
Yeah, we'll get stuff out about what was presented by other teams. Some nations have got a lot of stuff out already, but I think we're going to just drip feed stuff out over the summer.
There's no hurry, is there?
Yeah, exactly. So I did attend some stuff, but to be fair, other members of the team attended a lot more.
I need to go and ask them.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, there was one off-snow lecture that I went to, and I missed the on-snow presentation from Croatia. Now, I can't remember the guy's name, but that actually blew me away. That was one of the best lectures I've ever been to. Funnily enough, it was a psychology-based lecture.
Tell me more. Tell me more. I'm interested to know what the
well, actually,
I
can't completely remember all the detail of it without sort of referring to my notes. But it was just how forward thinking they were, and again, it was very much about guest focus. I think that for me was maybe one of the things that was changing more than even the national styles, was that a lot more nations were coming around to understanding that the soft skill side of teaching people is actually very, very important. And the Congress theme about future snow sport. Well, if you're not actually dealing with customer needs, then you're not going to have a future in snow sport, because people will find other activities to do.
Well, on a previous podcast, we've talked to Ali McGrain, who his brother Neil, and I always find it funny when you talk to people who are sort of stateside, and they refer to clients as guests. They're very much more on top of, I think, much more on top of the client experience thing.
Yeah.
Than we probably are in Europe, I would say, or we as in everyone on the mountain I'm talking about, and I think, well, it's nice to hear that people are waking up to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Americans and the Canadians are very strong on that guest focus, and where, once again, and all of their team, the Canadians have always said their demo team are all working professionally as ski instructors. So I remember Warren Jobbett sort of commenting in 2015, how they could bring better skiers, but they bring people who teach the sport full time. Because they're actually
that's great.
Really interested in helping people learn.
Yeah.
So I think again that was very much our ethos as well. Our team were all working full time as ski teachers around the Alps. So
yeah.
This is what Interski should be about. It's about ski instructors, exchanging ideas of how they teach.
I tell anyone who wants to listen about this, I tell my clients often that we have some good skiers in my ski school. Good. They're not the best that you'll find on our local hills by any means, but what they're in it for is the teaching.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about the majority of clients, it's very rare that we get a client, or maybe you do here, I'm not sure, in the Chamonix Valley, but it's very rare that we come across a client who skis anywhere near the level that we could ski at if we wanted to as instructors. But the important thing for me is that, can we get our ideas across? Can we get, can we help that person? Can we help them to have a good experience? Can we help them to make skiing easier for them? And I think that's, for me, in this industry, we're not all racing on the World Cup. We're not having to be, making crazy angles all the time. We're here to in the business of teaching people how to ski.
Yeah.
And that's what we should be the best at. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that ultimately is why we're here.
Yeah.
Is to get people to enjoy the sport and get more people involved. So.
I really enjoyed my interview with Derek. I think he had a lot of really, really cool stuff to say, and it was lovely to hear someone explain what goes on at Interski and all of the things that came out of it from his perspective. In part 2, we talk about differences in national styles, so some of the more interesting things that he saw at Interski. We then go on to talk about his ski school in the Chamonix Valley. We touch on the inevitable topic of Brexit, which is everywhere, as well as how that affects IASI, and various other bits and pieces as we go on. So I hope you enjoy the second part. Episode 6, I've got the next interview lined up, and that's going to be quite interesting, I think, for some of you who don't have this kind of weird arrangement that we have sometimes in the UK, where people are skiing indoors in indoor snow slopes. So I'm going to be speaking with a good friend of mine, Scott, who runs a ski school out of one of those, which I think is going to give us a really different perspective. Everyone that we've talked to so far is really kind of Alpine focused and is based out here, so it'd be interesting to speak to Scott and go from there. But enjoy the rest of Derek's interview, and I will catch you on the next one. I'm going to go and hunt down Mr. Croatian man's psychology lecture. But
well, I can share it with you anyway. I have the slides.
Croatia's going through something of a renaissance, isn't it? I mean, they had this year in the World Cup slalom, loads of guys are absolutely doing amazingly well.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's no surprise they put Kostelic in at the top of their team, their team manager now. I guess he's having a huge influence, but maybe that's leading to a greater renaissance in Croatian skiing. I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
I don't know
perhaps,
enough about it.
Yeah.
Okay. National styles then. So we talked just about the Swiss then, who have, I mean, they're exceptional skiers, but they do have quite a unique style in some ways. Did you see any other nations? We talked also about the Japanese. Probably, I imagine the Koreans were there too. They're doing something that doesn't look like everyone else.
Yeah, the Japanese are still quite focused on that sort of more what we would have called mid-stance in the old days, but just a lot of cross-under, feet pretty close together, able to create massive angles. Yeah, and they're short. They did a workshop on short turns, which was, a lot of our team came back sort of buzzing from it, and that was more our members that were there, because they just really enjoyed that experience, and they had huge numbers sort of going on that short turn workshop. So I think it was just fun trying out the Japanese style short turn.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So that was obviously quite interesting, but not dissimilar to what they've done before. I think in 2015 they looked fairly similar. I don't think they've really changed much. No. As I said, the Australians probably kind of moved closer to the, if you want to call it, the norm of what people looked like. So whereas previously they'd been a little bit closer to the Japanese in their style.
Yeah, there's definitely an influence there on some of their top guys for sure.
Yeah, but again, they were very, very good team, very strong skiers, as they have had. So impressive demos. I mean, again, the Slovenians were similar to before, but they're very race orientated in their approach. Very GS focused.
Right.
And their whole system is geared around that.
Okay.
Which is kind of strange, because I went to their workshop and you kind of got the impression that if you didn't want to be a giant slalom racer, maybe skiing wasn't for you.
Oh, really?
Just in their focus. But whether that was a slight misinterpretation of what they were trying to get across, I don't know.
That's interesting.
But they did have some nice focuses in terms of their technical, and at the high end, they were very much. I think the chap I was with, again, I can't remember his name, on the workshop, he said, you want to keep the hip high from the ski but low to the snow, which effectively was meaning keep a long leg.
Yeah.
But it was just a nice phrase, just in terms of, avoiding this kind of dropping the hip back, just make sure the hip was moving inside the turn, getting close to the snow, but with a very stacked and strong position. So that their whole focus was very much around giant slalom. They were very much on bigger radius skis,
right?
Than some of the other teams. So that
a lot of the team, I heard most of Interski and a lot of the trainers certainly from when you go to a Swiss thing, everyone's on slalom skis.
It was a mixture, but the Slovenians were very sort of adamant that giant slalom skis were or that kind of bigger radius was going to develop better technique.
I kind of agree with them, actually. So I think sometimes a slalom ski is too easy. You can just lean yourself in and you can still make quite nice arcs on that. Obviously at the higher end you can do more, but I think a longer ski, a more giant slalom-y type ski, you have to be more precise in your...
Yeah, I think so, but it's also similar to saying that skiing on big, wide, fat skis is also not very good for your technique.
Well, I agree.
Yeah, so generally getting onto something with some cycle is going to improve your technique. Having these big fat skis is certainly making it easier for people to get into different parts of the mountain, but it's not making them better skiers.
No, it's also destroying a lot of knees as well.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Well.
But I have a blend, so I've got a slalom set, a sort of GSE set, which I use most of the time, and then fat set. But I think it's important to jump from one to the other every now and then. Keep yourself honest, you know.
Yeah.
You just ski the same ski all year. I think it's
I think that's right. Changing skis is really good for you, and again that fits with this kind of more open environment and the fact that we're sort of staying mindfully aware of the changes we need to make every time we go out. You know, whether it's the different equipment or the different snow or different terrain. It's making us more adaptable performers.
Okay. Yeah. Who are the? I saw that there was a demo team from San Marino, which is I was surprised at. It's a small,
again,
small country.
they've been quite evident in the last in Ushuaia 2015. They had a big team there, and they were there in 2011 in St. Anton as well. They must have some kind of major funding or sponsorship because they do have all the latest kit. Always, and they're a very young team.
Right.
You know, meeting the team and having met some of them before, the actual demo team members were probably all early 20s.
Okay.
Or even younger, perhaps. Which, you know, is obviously, again, they're good skiers. And I think this time their demos were more polished than I remember them being in Ushuaia.
Yeah. Where do they ski? There's any skiing in San Marino.
No, I don't think so. So I presume in other parts of Italy, probably mostly.
Must be. I'll have to find that out.
Yeah.
Were they the smallest nation there? Was there any others that I couldn't remember?
In terms of the country or the landmass, probably.
Yeah, probably.
But I don't know about.
But are there any other nations that I didn't hear about? I'm trying to think of the lesser known ones. There.
I mean, there was plenty of other. I suppose if they're lesser known skiing nations, you know, whether it's any of the Eastern Bloc nations, they all had quite sizable teams there. Whether it was Poland, Hungary.
Oh, really?
They had all a good strong teams there. And again, they have been at the last couple of Interski congresses as well. So yeah, there's a good number of, if you like, Eastern Bloc or Eastern side of the Alps.
Yeah.
Countries there as well.
I didn't know they had skiing in Hungary.
Yeah, they do have a little bit of snow skiing, and they have some artificial slopes as well.
Right.
But they do a lot of their training in Austria.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, imagine.
So yeah, they were training actually when we were in Kitzsteinhorn in last November.
This is turning into a geography test.
Yeah, that's
starting to get limited in my geography. Okay, cool. Perfect. All right, so let's move on to something else. So you run your ski school here in the Chamonix Valley. How long have you been here in this region?
This was season 15.
Oh, really? And before that, you were somewhere else?
Before that, I worked for a New Generation in Courchevel.
Okay.
So I did 3 seasons in Courchevel. And then we came and set up in Chamonix. So Basel is a franchise.
Yes.
So through Hugh Money. We've had that 15 years in Chamonix and probably 10 or around 10 over here in Saint-Gervais-Les-Bains.
Yeah. Okay. Oh wow. And did you? It's beautiful. I can't stop looking out your window. It's an amazing view of the back of what's that over there?
That's the Dôme de Miage you're looking at.
It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Some serious mountains here, but did you specifically want to come to this valley, or it was a sort of opportunity? Have you been? Yeah,
no, I did. I'd always come to Chamonix just to ski for fun. Even back when I worked in the Porte du Soleil back in 1991, 92 sort of time.
Oh wow!
I was based in Châtel at that time. I used to come over to Chamonix just to ski for fun.
How about that? Well, I can see why you would do that.
Yeah, so that was very much around the Blizzard of Vaz days, and
Yeah,
Chamonix was sort of the iconic place to come and ski.
for sure.
So, yeah, I always liked it. So it just seems like a good place to come and live. It's whether it's Chamonix Valley or around here in Saint-Gervais, it's not your typical French resort. It's not purpose built.
Yeah,
So it's got a much nicer feel to it as a place.
No, it's beautiful. I came through Saint-Gervais earlier. It's like a town, you know. There's like stuff going on.
They're real towns. They don't just close at the end of the winter.
Yeah. And it's nice to have that on your doorstep.
Yeah, exactly. And around here on the Saint-Gervais side, it's really open and sunny. The downside of living in Chamonix Valley is it's a very deep-sided valley, so when you're actually in the valley, you don't see much sun during the winter.
Yeah.
It's fine when you're up on the mountain, but around
Well,
here.
I was telling, so listen, I came here with my wife and my child in the car, and they've gone into Saint-Gervais to look around, but I was telling my wife on the way through about the Chamonix smog, in effect. You know, that cloud that hangs in the valley mid-season. It's not there when I went through this time, but and the Chamonix cough, you know, the season airs because I guess the wind doesn't get through there or something.
Yeah, quite often you get a just temperature inversion, and it just traps the sort of pollution in the valley, and you're getting a lot of pollution obviously from the Mont Blanc tunnel, and
always a lot of traffic goes through there, isn't
and then just people with wood burning stoves or just in the valley, so everything gets trapped.
Yeah. Because Chamonix itself it's a proper town, isn't it? That's the
it's a big town.
That's
and
the
it's,
thing.
It's busier probably in summer than it is in winter.
Because
of the multi-sports that go on there.
That's right.
The Ultra Trail Mont Blanc now is one of the massive events of the summer.
Right.
And that starts in Chamonix and comes around here through Saint-Gervais as well.
How ultra is the Ultra Trail? How many?
Not being somebody who takes part in these things, I can't remember all the specific things.
Me too.
But it's mad lengths of 100 kilometres plus.
Yeah, that's not my thing.
Up to over 200 kilometres on some of the really nutty ones. So,
really?
Yeah. I think it's about 170 k's the actual Ultra Trail itself.
These people are crazy.
Yeah. But it's a huge event.
Yeah.
And a great atmosphere at it as well. You know, because you can go down to the town and watch people coming through. They have obviously feeding stations at different points. So Saint-Gervais is one of the early ones in the Ultra Trail. So people are still
a bit
fairly fresh at that point.
They've only done 20 k's. How many guys are you in your ski school?
We're really small here. Shona, my wife, and myself are kind of the core of it, and then we've a couple of other instructors.
Okay.
Do stuff, and then 3 or 4 mountain guys that do stuff with us as well.
Oh yeah, because you're going to need that.
Yeah, we do a huge amount of off-piste courses. So that's probably one of the main things we do, apart from private lessons, would be off-piste performance courses.
Oh right. Yeah. Do they have the same? I'm ignorant, unfortunately, of the rules in France, but in Switzerland, you have above a certain altitude, you have to be with a mountain guide. But here in France, is it different?
In France, it's different. As a fully qualified ski instructor, you can ski off-piste anywhere except on a glacier.
Oh, okay. So that's why you need a guide to go down the Vallée Blanche or something like
exactly.
that.
So
I imagine
if you're off-piste on a glacier, then you need to be a mountain guide.
Right.
Or you need to be with a mountain guide.
Yeah.
So it's out with ski instructors, the main. But we would run courses where some of the courses on the final day would be with the instructor and the mountain guide. Mm-hmm. You know, you still have the advantage of getting the tuition from the instructor while the guide is making all the decisions in terms of.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
Where to go, so that can be quite popular as well.
Yeah. And the off-piste terrain around here is limitless, isn't it? It's just
absolutely.
The opportunities are enormous.
Yeah. And obviously huge amounts of touring terrain as well.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, cool. That's good. I wanted to just jump back to IASI if I can, pointing at my little map here.
Yeah.
Have you noticed, I'm going to bring up the dreaded B word, the dreaded Brexit word. I'm desperately trying not to get involved in this podcast, but have you noticed a jump in membership or anything like that due to Brexit? Because Ireland are obviously going to remain in the EU once the deadline goes.
Yeah.
And I guess there must be people who are concerned about access to the European market with, let's say, the British qualification.
Yeah.
And if those guys kind of get Brexited and there's no... I've completely lost track of the whole, the argument and all the stuff that goes backwards and forwards, but have you seen a jump or an increase in interest in what you're doing through that?
I would say we have seen an increase in interest, but most of it has come through what we're doing as an association, the courses that we're
It's not driven by
running.
Brexit, it's by the organisation.
It's not been driven by Brexit. I mean, there have been obviously some people looking to join and thinking that it's going to help.
Yeah.
But the reality is none of us know exactly what's going to happen, and ultimately it comes down to where, what passport you hold. Is going to make more of a difference than the association that you're qualified through. So just because you're a member of IASI isn't going to necessarily make any difference ultimately. Yes, there is the element that IASI is part of the European Union, and the Delegated Act, which is now just about in its final stages of going into law, will mean that IASI are obviously part of that, and that our top qualifications are fully recognised as being the top qualification within this new act. So, yeah, there may be some advantage to that, but it's still going to come down to passport as to whether you're going to have rights to work in the EU anyway. But no, I'd say more of our growth is driven just simply by our attendances at Interskis, the fact that our qualifications are more well known, that we have more providers running qualifications. You said you spoke to Warren Smith there.
Yes, that's right.
Recently, and obviously the Warren Smith Ski Academy, use IASI qualifications exclusively with their gap courses.
And he was raving about you guys. It's brilliant what you're doing. So. Yeah,
and we had some of the academy guys, or two of the academy guys, Jordan and Andy on the team. So I mean that our growth is driven by other factors, I would say, rather than Brexit.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering if it had an effect. That's all. It sort of struck me as, worth talking about. So.
I mean, we did have a period where we had a lot of people, wanting to join the association, from other associations. But my response would always be, even if people wanted to join, I would never want them to give up the association they were a member of. If they want to have, if you like, dual membership of different associations, then fantastic, or even more than two associations, many instructors do. But, thinking that suddenly joining IASI would be better than being in the other associations, I don't think is the case.
No, the reason I joined was twofold. One was that I really liked the way that you're, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when you're on an examination you can pass various elements of it, but if you are just short on one element, there is the option to go away and practice that and come back and then get to the level on that. I don't know whether that still exists.
Yeah, no, it does. We've made a number of changes. We used to have most of our courses used to be 6 days duration. So if you did the level 3 technical module or level 4 technical module, it was a 6-day course. But we've split that now into a 3-day prep course and a 3-day exam.
Oh, cool. Right.
So they will quite often run as 3 days followed by 3 days, but some people may attend the 3-day prep just as a bit of a taster. Yeah. Others may just feel they're confident enough that they can attend the exam. They don't need to do the 3-day prep. But we also did that so that if people were joining from other associations, they could just do the 3-day exam. Yes. But we also brought in that people had to do basically an exam at the same level as their own association. Yeah. So that they couldn't just get a straight conversion. They would have to do our technical exam. And part of our reason for that is that our own technical philosophy or content has changed a lot over our attendance at Interskis and the influences we have from the Swiss, from the Canadians, etc. within our system, so that it was important that people coming into the association actually understood and learnt about the association, didn't just simply join. Yeah. So, and doing a 3-day exam is not too big an ask. If people want to join, it's relatively straightforward. So we have that change, but then, as you mentioned, we also have if you're doing, say, the level 3 technical and you're just not getting it in short turns, or so if it's kind of one element that you still need some brushing up on, then you can get a sort of 1 day reset.
Is that so? If it's just one element, you're not getting it on.
Yeah, because it tends if there's
if
more than one element, then it tends to be some fundamental movement pattern that still needs sorting out, so that you're going to need to come back. But again, then you're only coming back for 3 days. You're not coming back for a full week.
Yeah.
So it's still, in that sense, it's quite appealing to people. But yeah, there is that option. We do get some people who just need that. I'd like to do a 1 day reset. Whether it's at level 3 or level 4. And that works at level 2 as well. So,
what I thought was also really interesting, which prompted me to join at a certain time, was that you also have at the top of your system, so in the level 4 framework, you have the option to go into there is a dual option where you can choose to go and take the European speed test with access to working in France, but there's also the option of taking the IASI speed test.
So doing the IASI technical test is an option. So yeah, you're right. We at level 4 we have two outcomes, and it was very much designed around, well, where do people actually want to work?
Yeah.
So for some people, Switzerland was very much where their focus was. So the IASI card is very well recognised within the Swiss resorts. So that made sense for people. For others, then, if they were interested in working in France or Italy, then going down the Euro test would be the option. So yeah, that may or may not change now. Obviously, with the delegated act coming in, that will potentially change things a little bit. But we're very much part of ISA and supportive of the ISA. So that ISA card is still an important outcome for people. Yeah.
Well, you'll know from speaking to Warren and Jordan and you'll Switzerland, I think is quite an attractive proposition these days. It's not kind of, France isn't the be all and end all of everything anymore.
No,
I don't think.
No, I think there's a lot of options for people at all levels in Switzerland. It's not. I think originally it was probably not too hard to get work in one of the big Swiss ski schools, but there's a lot more options, or it seems there's a lot more now available to people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's good. All right. I don't want to keep you anymore because I know you've got to spend some time with your two new puppies.
Yeah.
They're not really puppies anymore, they're enormous, these dogs. Well, they're going to be enormous.
Peter Pan and Wendy.
And I've got to go and find my wife and have lunch probably. So before I let you go, we give everyone a chance to kind of plug what they're doing. So where can people get in touch with you?
The basschamonix.com is our main website for here, for Chamonix and for Saint-Gervais-Les-Bains. But if you go onto the britishskischool.com website, then you'll find all of the Bass ski schools there.
Yeah.
That was the main. We also have our Parallel Dreams website, which is kind of our other brand, if you like, for running performance courses. So we do some of those pre-season.
Yeah. And you do a lot of work indoors, don't you?
We do some of the snow domes in the summer
and on the dry slopes too.
On the dry slopes, yeah. So we kind of run most of that under our Parallel Dreams.
Okay.
Brand.
And from an IASI perspective, if people want to find out more about what that is,
IASI-snowsports.com is the web address there, and we've got our end of season courses coming up now in Kaprun, Kitzsteinhorn Glacier.
Okay.
So that's really just level 3 and level 4 tech and teach modules, and they're
I have a real Irishman attending the level 3. One of my guys from the team, Matthias.
Yes,
yeah. He'll be there.
We've got really good numbers on the courses this year. So we've got some full level 4 groups, which is a real first. So
cool.
We have a couple of level 3 techs running, level 3 and 4 teach courses running. So
that's brilliant.
So it should be really good. So we're there for a couple of weeks, end of this month, beginning of May.
Okay. Well, he's been training hard anyway.
Good,
so,
good.
We'll see how he gets on. We're doing bumps training next week. So he's going to be ready to go as soon as he gets going. So, all right. Well, fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you
Pleasure.
for your time. Thank you for welcoming me to your home.
Yeah, no, good. Nice
And,
to have a chance to chat.
yeah, likewise. All right.